ਵਿਨੀਪੈਗ 'ਚ ਸਿਵਕ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਦਾ ਜ਼ੋਰ ਹੈ ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ। ਇੱਥੇ ਮੇਅਰ ਦੀ ਚੋਣ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਣੀ ਹੈ 26 ਅਕਤੂਬਰ ਨੂੰ। ਪੋਲਿੰਗ ਹੋਏਗੀ, ਸੇਮ ਡੇ ਈਵਨਿੰਗ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟ ਡਿਕਲੇਅਰ ਹੋ ਜਾਣਗੇ। 11 ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਨੇ ਮੇਅਰ ਦੀ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਣੀ ਕਿਸਮਤ ਅਜ਼ਮਾਈ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਨੇ ਰਾਣਾ ਬੁਖਾਰੀ। ਰਾਣਾ ਬੁਖਾਰੀ ਦਾ ਪਿਛੋਕੜ ਬੇਸ਼ੱਕ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਦੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ, ਪਰ ਉਹ ਬੋਰਨ ਬਰੌਟ ਅਪ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਦੇ ਵਿਨੀਪੈਗ ਦੇ, ਜਾਂ ਕਹਿ ਲਓ ਮੈਨੀਟੋਬਾ ਦੇ ਨੇ। ਰਾਣਾ ਬੁਖਾਰੀ ਪਿਛਲੇ 5 ਸਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਤੋਂ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਕਲ ਐਕਟੀਵਿਟੀਜ਼ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੂਰੀ ਸਰਗਰਮੀ ਨਾਲ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਲੈ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। 10 ਸਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ। ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਬੜੇ ਮੰਨੇ ਪ੍ਰਮੰਨੇ ਲਾਇਰ ਦੇ ਤੌਰ 'ਤੇ ਸਾਡੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਐਸਟੈਬਲਿਸ਼ਡ ਨੇ। 20 ਸਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸੋਸ਼ਲ ਐਕਟੀਵਿਟੀਜ਼ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆ। 25 ਸਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਹਿਊਮਨ ਰਾਈਟ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਫਾਈਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਐਡਵੋਕੇਸੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ। ਬੋਰਨ ਬਰੌਟ ਅਪ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਮੈਂ ਦੱਸਿਆ, ਨੋਲਾ ਮੈਨੀਟੋਬਾ ਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਛੋਟਾ ਟਾਊਨ ਹੈ, ਉੱਥੇ ਹੋਏ। ਕਮਿਟਡ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਵਾਇਸਲੈਸ ਪੀਪਲਸ ਵਾਸਤੇ। ਰਾਣਾ ਬੁਖਾਰੀ ਦਾ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕਰਦੇ, ਫਿਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਅਸੀਂ ਮਿਕਸ ਬੋਲਾਂਗੇ, ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ ਮਿਕਸ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। Welcome, Rana Bokhari.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here.
As I already explained that you are in politics more than 5 years.
Yes.
And you are in as a lawyer profession more than 10 years.
Yes.
And you are a social volunteer more than 20 years. And you are a human right advocate more than 25 years.
Whole life almost.
Now
yes.
you are.
Now I'm back here.
Now you are. Yeah. Now you are in the field of the politics again.
Mm-hmm.
There are 11 person who are in the field of election for mayor.
Mm-hmm.
Where you are?
You know, it's when you know you're the only different candidate,
Mm-hmm.
you're always number one.
Yo, very good.
Right?
Very good.
Because everyone,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when you live life and when your values, like our values as community values, it's not just my values.
Mm-hmm.
We grow up like this, or all of our communities are like this.
Mm-hmm.
We're the most giving people there are. We're the most compassionate people there are. We're the most justice-seeking people there are. Mm-hmm. All of us, whether India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, whatever, that's who we are.
Mm-hmm.
So I just know that from a value system, nobody is like.
Is the Rana Bokhari a strong candidate? What you are telling me you are number one.
I feel like I think that there are people in this city who believe exactly what I believe.
Mm-hmm.
That the last 10, 15, 20 years in civic politics has been such a failure that today we see 400 people dying on the street since the beginning of 2022. Just last week, we had 7 people die of violence on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen homicide at the highest rate across the country. We see 28% of our police budget going to policing, yet you cannot call a police person and have them arrive at your home in the most dangerous situations for hours, sometimes days.
Mm-hmm.
So if things were going that well, and if all of these other candidates, many of which are either sitting councillors, current councillors, previous politicians, like whatever, where was their contribution? I'm just standing here today and I'm saying enough is enough.
Yeah.
But if they were so qualified, how could we be in an addiction crisis, a crime crisis, a mental health crisis, an economic crisis? How is that possible?
Yeah, this is a big question. But
that's the question.
But my question.
Yeah.
You were Liberal president for Manitoba.
For 3 years, yeah.
And you are still hailing the policies of Liberal?
No. No. I think that. Thank you for that question. I think that that's a really important question for everyone to understand the way party politics and civic politics work. I don't hold any membership to any party today, and I haven't.
Right now, you are not a member of any political party.
No, and that's for a specific reason. In this campaign, like many of our candidates, we are all independent. We are all individual people, and we run on our individual values, what we believe in our individual platforms. We don't align with different parties. But I have chosen not to, even in the past 7 years since I left politics, be engaged in any one party, because I knew when I was going to run for mayor, I have to be able to work with all parties. I need good relationships with all parties.
As a progressive woman.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. The most progressive woman on this campaign.
Being a mayor, if you are elected, hopefully,
Yep, hopefully.
and we assure you that we are with you. If you are elected as a mayor, what is your priorities towards the women of Manitoba or Winnipeg?
Safety, security, economic development, our voices being heard, protection against violence in and out of homes and workplaces, harassment. The list goes on and on and on. The sad part about the situation we are dealing with in Winnipeg is that women are suffering silently. You know, they're suffering silently, and today is about, as we move forward, hand in hand, in many of our cultures, I think we're so lucky. Like, we're so lucky because, you know, we have so much love amongst each other. We have so much compassion amongst our families, within our families, the way that we lift our family values, right?
Yeah.
Like, our family values are core to our families.
Yeah.
That is what makes a protective city. To understand, to internalize how families function is how a community can function.
Can I ask you,
Please.
If you are elected, what is the top priorities?
Right away, to be honest with you, drugs off the street immediately, because it's connected to everything. It's connected to a very dangerous situation on everywhere from Maples to North End to Transcona to River Heights. We are finding people consumed by their addiction on the streets, violent, crime increasing, people unprovoked getting attacked. So that's increasing. So we need to deal with that issue, or people are going to lose lives.
You announced so many things that the transportation.
Yes.
You announced that the transportation bus
Master plan,
pass maybe around $20.
100%. Absolutely. And you know, you're asking such great questions because they matter to our community. Why $20? Because when people come here, okay, and we have to be very honest about these situations. When newcomers come to Winnipeg, even if they've been here for 5 years, they are just starting their lives. It is so financially difficult.
Yeah.
They are going to struggle. They're going to have one, maybe two people working in a home. They're going to be bare minimum making ends meet, as it is. But then the only way for them to get from point A to point B, a lot of the times point B is their job, is a bus, is Winnipeg Transit.
Yeah.
And $100 for somebody who's
More
making...
than 100.
Well, $120 for one bus pass per one person?
One.
For one person in a home. Our families have 5 or 6 people in a home.
Yeah.
That's $600 per month on a bus pass.
Yeah.
Which, if you're only making $2,500 to $3,000, you're not paying a car payment, you're not making a mortgage payment, you're not making your hydro payment, you're not making any medical issues. Your children probably can't get glasses or dental if they need it. It's sensible to lift people where they need it most. Why is it $20? Because I want people to be able to get to work safely.
You mentioned in your portfolio that Winnipeg should be age-friendly city.
Yes, for all of us.
What it means?
Age-friendly city means if we were a successful city 10 years ago, when we knew that the demographic of our city is changing, we're having our boomers increase, our older age people increase, including our family members, and we're having younger youth, which means there's people who are older, they require more care, they require cleaner sidewalks, they require more Winnipeg Transit Plus, they require certain things for them to live dignified and compassionate lives. So they're not sitting at home alone by themselves. And again, I bring it back to who we are as people. We take care of our elders. We take care of our family. We take care of our parents. Right? We do this. We know this. Your audience knows this.
Yeah.
And that's the type of compassion that comes from knowledge that I have as a woman, as a Pakistani woman, as a person born and raised who carries those values. We have to take care of our older people. We have to, because it is inhumane. It's inhumane to have people who have worked their entire lives to be left alone at the sidelines when it was their time to be treated with compassion and dignity. That's why seniors means accessibility. It also means good transit systems.
Yeah.
It also means not walking 4 miles to a bus stop.
Yeah.
It also means, frequent buses. It means safety on the streets. It means everything that's related to seniors, good health, good wellness. And that also means for our families and our parents.
You mentioned in your manifesto about affordable houses. I
Yes.
think it's a matter of provincial government.
Very good point.
But you mentioned that you will arrange a affordable house with the
Yes.
help of NGOs.
Kind of. So housing has different levels. So you're right. Normally, there's a rapid housing initiative down from the federal government happening right now. But you do not, as leaders, as good leaders, we do not have jurisdictional fights when there's thousands of people who don't have homes or they have unaffordable homes. We do not need people, working poor people, I say this with respect, people who are paycheck to paycheck,
Yeah.
and any mishap, somebody gets sick, what happens?
Yeah. It's
You no
not-
longer have a home.
Yeah, it's very normal.
Right. That is extremely dangerous. When I'm talking about affordable housing, what I'm saying is the city of Winnipeg itself owns or has jurisdiction over houses in the city. We have 700 abandoned, broken homes in the city that have been abandoned by their homeowners.
Yeah.
The city of Winnipeg has bylaws to take those homes, to take title of those homes. What I'm saying is we will proceed aggressively and take title to those homes. Those homes then will not be given to developers, but be given to Habitat for Humanity, our local community organizations who can take care of our own housing, for us to make housing that meets the demands of the people who need it.
You mentioned somewhere short-term rental
Yes.
accountability fee. What it is?
Yeah, it's a platform fee. So, it's a tough situation, right? So, Airbnbs is essentially what we're talking about. There are, unfortunately, downtown, I'll use the Glass House as an example.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Glass House has numerous Airbnbs in it, but it's also taking space from people who can actually live in those houses long term, right? So nobody can rent that space, so it's getting taken out of the housing stock, right?
Yeah.
So then you have 1 less, 2 less, 100 less homes for people to rent. But at the same time, what's happening is those homes, when you have too much of that happening, it's scary because you can have all sorts of other issues happening. So a platform fee is very normal. It's a 5% fee. It's very similar to hotel fees. I know that a lot of people who have Airbnbs have agreed to it. Like, not all of them, but there's always discussion around these things. But we need to manage and we need to balance everything that's happening in the city. Right? We also don't want to put the burden on homeowners to pay, higher property tax to negate what Airbnb is doing. So everyone has to pay their part, right? We all have to do our part, and I think that's a reasonable expense. That if you're going to do that, you're going to take houses out of the housing market, which means we have to create more houses in spaces that we don't have, then somebody has to take accountability.
You realized we have to talk on property tax.
Yes.
You are increasing, you are decreasing.
Great question, thank you. So this is my thing, and this is what I tell all voters because it's critically important. Anyone who's telling you that they're going to go in and raise property tax right now should really reflect on what they know about what's happening in the city right now. We have just come out of 2 years of COVID. We have come out of some of the most awful, unprecedented situations within families. Families have lost jobs. 4-income homes have gone to 2-income homes or 1 income. People have lost cars. People have lost homes. Their mental illness is struggling. And now just now we're starting to lift ourselves up again. It is, and then now, and at the same time, you have inflation rising, right?
Yeah.
Cost of food's going up, cost of hydro's going up, all these other things are going up. And we haven't, as leadership, currently, given the city of Winnipeg clean streets, clean sidewalks, roads without potholes, clean water. There's asbestos pipes in the city, 700 kilometers. We have given them nothing for us to trust them. So what I've suggested is 2 years that gets people out of COVID, that allows inflation to balance itself out. And then we look at it, and Winnipeggers will see a steward of the public purse who has invested properly, and by properly I mean sensibly, with accountability, with transparency of your tax dollars, and then, and only then, will I have really the right to increase property taxes. You don't increase property taxes on people when you've already sucked them dry.
Good.
And I say that with all due respect.
Good. City of Winnipeg, this is now popular for crime. I'm not blaming the only city of Winnipeg. Actually, crime is growing everywhere.
Everywhere.
Canada-wide, worldwide, everywhere.
Yeah.
But there are shortage of police constables, police personals.
Yeah.
What are your planning?
So, the police budget currently, like I said, is 28% of all of your tax dollars. So, of every $100 that you pay, I'm using an example, of $100, 28 of those dollars directly go to Winnipeg Police.
Oh.
And if $28 right now are going to the police and increasing every year, and that leaves only 70% for roads, for sewer, for hydro, for water, for not hydro, but for clean water, for sewer, for roads, for maintenance, for every other social service. 75% now is millions of dollars have to be scrunched into this side, and the police can't show up. It's not about them not being, it's not about that. The issue is that we have failed by asking police to do social services. The police's job is to prevent crime and to respond to crime. Their job is not to deal with the social failures of society, drugs, alcohol, homelessness, poverty. The police are not responsible for well-being checks. The police are not responsible for that. Yet they're spending the majority of their time doing work that's not their job to do. Which is why 10% of a reallocation, which is $32 million, will now go into social services. What does that do? Well, police are now going to respond to your calls because they're not dealing with this issue. They're dealing with crime issues. What does that do for you as Winnipeggers? It keeps your family safe. When you call the police, someone's breaking into your home because they're not caught up picking people off the street. Unfortunately, they're going to be able to respond to you. This side of the coin is safe consumption sites. It's getting people off drugs.
They are not responding because their personas are deployed at Superstore.
They're not doing their job. They're not doing, but it's not police. You know, we have to be very cautious about how we speak about members in uniform because you're right. You're right. What we don't need today is division between how we as people of color feel about police because there's a whole history there.
What you're thinking, is there any alternative for community policing?
There could be, but that doesn't keep us safe. You know, and we have to understand the history. We have to understand that Indigenous, Black, and people of color, mostly male, that is not very comfortable for them. Okay, we are living in a world where there's a lot of racial profiling. Sons and a lot of daughters are not going to really appreciate that. Okay, because it's fearful, it's traumatizing, it's triggering. You know, I know a lot of our community. when you're called terrorist our whole life, do we think we're going to be really safe with police walking down the street? Well, no, because you don't know if you're going to get.
Yeah.
You've walked by something accidentally and they pick you up. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
That's not good community development.
Yeah. My next question is, Winnipeg is popular for two seasons only, winter season and construction season.
Yeah.
When summer is there,
Yeah.
every street is closed due to construction. And are you planning to boost the construction work 24 hours?
Yes, thank you. Absolutely. So thank you because see, this is why we have good conversation, because sensible people understand that you do not have construction for 9 months, for 6 months, 9 to 5.
Yeah.
You have construction for 1 month, a month and a half, 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Ends it quickly, and then we can all move on.
I noticed so many streets are closed
With
for
nobody
a
working.
long time,
Yes.
and there is no work.
Exactly. And that is, again, a failure of political will. It is a failure of foresight. It's a lack of consideration and dignity and respect for people like us who have to wait 40 minutes for a 20-minute ride.
Yeah.
We have to go places. Time is valuable. It's wasting gas. With gas at almost $2 a thing, it's so inconsiderate of what actual Winnipeggers are actually facing. If you're in a car for 40 minutes because of construction, and it takes you $100 to fill your tank,
Yeah.
and $20 is that waiting for construction, how does that tell you that your government cares about you? That doesn't tell you that. It tells you that no matter what you do, it's not enough. You could pay for anything, you can do anything, and it won't be enough. And I'm here to say it's time for that change.
And you promised to put a special tax on surface
Parking lots.
service parking.
Yes, again, it's a housing issue, right? What we need to do is because we don't need flat surface parking lots everywhere that are empty all the time. That's very valuable space. Developers or whoever owns those lots, you can start to build up infill housing, start to create good business. And what that does, it also creates tax dollars.
Yeah.
Right? So when you infill homes and you're filling those empty spaces with buildings, what happens from the perspective of the owner of that lot? Well, you just created a very lucrative life for yourself. You now have 5, 10, 8 suites. You're probably making some good money, and you're also contributing to the tax base. You now are taxed, and what does that say for Winnipeggers? That's a good way to increase revenue for the municipality, so we can do more good things. We can invest in transit, we can invest in sewage, we can invest in clean water, we can invest in roads.
Yeah. One very important question.
They're all important.
I'm not sure your mom dad did their duty to pick up from school or drop to you to school. There are no space to stop the car, any other vehicle.
Yes,
and city of Winnipeg, I don't know what the department they are issuing so many tickets to the parents.
100%, and that actually happened to us a few days ago too. And because I pick up my niece, my little baby niece who's 3 years old, and she likes to come as auntie. Auntie, pick me up. It's something that I've definitely come up with a lot of times. I want to review all that entire system. It's not only school zones; it's also hospitals.
Yeah.
When people are sick and when people are in crisis, but ultimately it comes down to value systems. It comes back down to the same type of leadership. Are we protecting people, everyday people, or are we going to continue to play political games to benefit one handful of people, which is not us? We're not the ones benefiting from this. Right? It's a different group of people. So I think it's time that we move on from the same old. I think it's time to, thank them and let's move on.
Yeah.
And let's move in a direction that will benefit our families, our children, our community members who will come to Winnipeg. We want them to come to Winnipeg. We want immigration for our people to increase. I want to see more of our faces everywhere, right? We want that.
If our province is a friendly Manitoba, Winnipeg should be.
Agreed. It should be friendly. It should be a human rights city. It should be accessible for all. It should be age friendly. It should be a place where our children will thrive and grow and not want to leave.
Yeah. Last question.
Any question you want?
Last question. You are talking about system, and you promised that the city of Winnipeg, the work will be transparent.
Yes.
What it is?
Oh, so as a lawyer, I will say this: as a lawyer in good standing for 10 years, we don't, it's an ingrained skill in us, ethics, transparency, accountability. So I'm very thankful that I come from a profession that demands that. I don't know any other way. You know what I mean? I think that's...
But you promised that you will spend $1 million to train the city office personnel.
Yes, they need that training desperately.
Why the city not enroll or not hire the perfect persons to work together?
That's a good question. It's not so much that. We have a lot of systemic issues in this city. A lot of systems that exist and have existed for a very long time that continue to oppress and create barriers for individuals who don't look a certain way. And as the world has changed and as diversity has increased, we are still using those same policies for hiring and training. So what I'm suggesting is that as we try to diversify our employees, as we try to include more people,
that's a good idea.
We have to, because if we don't, just like this campaign, we will not be heard. We're going to be sitting here in 4 years having the exact same conversation. And if people remember me 7 years ago in provincial politics, I've said exactly the same thing, that we continue to choose the same thing over and over, and then we want to complain that nothing has changed. Nothing will change with the same type of leadership. It is a fact. Now, going back to your question, why is that important? Because what we need to do is train people through a human rights lens, through a diversity and inclusion lens, so that if you are a Sikh, if you are a Muslim, if you are a Hindu, if you're Indigenous, if you are from a different country, if you perhaps have an accent of some kind, you are now being acknowledged through that diversity and inclusion training, where people who perhaps don't look like us are learning and serve the community.
Yeah, that's great. There are so many other questions, but
you can ask me anything you want, but I know we're time.
We will talk again when you declared as a mayor
Absolutely.
of Winnipeg. But who is the competitor?
Oh, it's hard.
It's very hard. I know.
It's very hard. I think that they've claimed front runners, and those front runners look nothing like us. And I think that should be very telling for a lot of people. Why is that? Because I have more education than anyone on the panel. I have more political experience on the panel. I have more municipal experience in law on the panel. I have more experience negotiating provincial and federal governments than anyone on that panel. I am more value-based in kindness, compassion, and human rights and dignity for all people, not just one group, than anyone on the panel. Yet, here we are.
Thank you very much, Rana.
Thank you.
You answered my all hard question and direct. I think it was you were prepared before.
No, I've just been doing this all day. But that's the thing, when you speak from your heart and when you're speaking truth, there's no problem.
Thank you very much, and best wishes.
Thank you very much.
And we hope that you will become a mayor of city.
I hope so too.
We will again arrange a special talk to address the so many other problems.
Absolutely. And I just remind people, you know, we have an opportunity to make history here. I'm the first woman of color from our community who has ever run for mayor. This is not a small thing. It has not been easy. I'm up against every barrier many of you face in your life. I'm dealing with that on a public scale right now. So I implore you, there's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for truth. It's an opportunity for justice. It's an opportunity for our people to be heard. Let's not squander it. Let's make a good decision. And whoever you choose, I hope it's me, but whoever you choose, please go out and vote. It's a right that many people fight for.
Very good. ਇਹ ਸਨ ਜੀ ਰਾਣਾ ਬੁਖਾਰੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵਿਨੀਪੈਗ ਦੇ ਮੇਅਰ ਦੀ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਾਫੀ ਅੱਗੇ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਔਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਬੜੇ ਤਿੱਖੇ ਸਵਾਲ ਕੀਤੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਸਵਾਲਾਂ ਦਾ ਬਖੂਬੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਵਾਬ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਹੋਪਫੁਲੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕਰੇਗੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਬੈਸਟ ਵਿਸ਼ੇਸ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਵੈਰੀ ਮਚ ਰਾਣਾ
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਸੋ ਮਚ I appreciate it